I hope my screen is visible. So let us assume that I have written a piece of Java code and I'm saving this as a.java, right? So after saving this, if you want to think like a beginner, we have to compile the code, right? So compilation will be taken care by the compiler. The job of the compiler is to make sure that code has no errors. If you ask me, the errors that are occurring over here, we can call them as errors. We don't call them as exceptions. So these are the errors. What errors we call? These are the errors, syntactical errors. These are the mistakes that we have, common mistakes that we have done. Common mistake in the sense, the error can be the spell check error, can be instead of using integer, we might have used the integer in the form of capital cases, right? Such things are called as errors, and we have an option to correct it before getting executed. Right? These are called compilation compile time errors. Compile time errors. So errors that are getting shown up or errors that are getting displayed when we try to compile a program, they are called as compile time errors. Basically, they are syntactical errors. It has nothing to do with the exceptions. Okay. So if the code is error free, what happens? The compiler will convert the .java file to .class file. So .java file will be converted to what? .class file. A.java is converted to A.class file, and this A.class file will be loaded inside the JVM. Right? As soon as the file is loaded in the JVM is going to generate a native code. We call it as a machine code. Machine code is nothing but zeros and ones. It will be in the form of zeros and ones. Right? So as soon as this code is getting executed, it will be interrupted and the output will be displayed in the console. This is how a typical Java program is going to work, isn't it? So here we are talking about checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions, right? So checked exceptions are something that will happen at the compilation time. In here, the checked exception will happen in the compilation time. It doesn't mean that they are the compile time exceptions. That should not be the case. It will be checked by the compiler during the compilation time. People used to everywhere you might have heard that checked exceptions are the exception that is taken care by the compiler. They call it as compile time exceptions. No, it is not compile time exceptions. They are the exceptions that is checked by the compiler in the compilation time. Let me write that down. Checked exceptions are checked by the compiler during the compilation, and it doesn't mean that they are compile time exceptions. Sir, can you, I mean, if you ask me, is there any example that you can give for checked exceptions? There are so many examples. So let me make you to understand the real-time analogy. For example, let us say that you have a public exam to be taken tomorrow, or let us say that you have an interview tomorrow, right? So if you have an interview tomorrow, before actually leaving from your house, before actually leaving from your home, your mom will ask you whether you have money to travel, whether you have what we call it as whether you have taken your certificates. So things that are required to give an interview, those things will be checked by your family members, one of your family members. For example, forget about the interview. If you have the public exam tomorrow, before even going to the exam hall, your mom or your dad, they are going to ask you if you have taken the hall ticket. That is the first check. If you are carrying any additional pen, or they will also check if you, because your pen may be it might run out of the ink, so there are high chances for that. So they will ask you if you are carrying an additional pen. So these are the pre-checks that will be done by your mom or dad before you actually go to the exam hall, right? So they are not anticipating, actually they are making sure that they are ensuring that you can handle, like if you're carrying an additional pen, you can handle. If the actual pen is not working, you can handle, you can write the exam with the alternate pen. At the same time, without hall ticket, you cannot, you know that you will carry the hall ticket, you know that. But at the same time, your mom is doing the check, whether you are carrying it or not. It doesn't mean that your mom doesn't want you to carry. Your mom is checking whether you are carrying it or not to make sure that you are not facing any trouble during the examination center, before entering into the examination hall. The pre-checking done by the mom for their children. So if you apply that same analogy in Java compiler will also do the same thing. It will pre-check. For example, if you have written a piece of code in Java language, if your code is written in a Java language, so let us say that is a simple code, class A, and in this code you are simply writing take the file from C drive. It's not actually Java code, just an for the understanding, when to keep it simple, I have written a simple statement. The statement said take the file from the C drive. Take the file from the C drive, right? So if you try to compile this code, compiler will first will ask you, are you able to handle this code? For example, you are asking me to take the file from the C drive. That is fine. But what if the file is not there in the C drive? Right? As a developer, I am saying, I am writing a code and the execution is like, take the file from the C drive, or let us say take Java file from the C drive. I am just giving an instruction, take Java for a file from the C drive. But we are not sure, what if the Java file is not available in the C drive? There are chances that exception will occur, because the control will go to the C drive and it will check for the Java file. If the Java file is not even available in the C drive, and it is going to get stuck, it is an unfortunate event. The thread is going to keep looking for the Java file which is not even available there. That is an exception. So the compiler will check, okay, I will follow your instruction, please handle this code. This code may generate an exception, because there are high chances that the file may not available in the specified path that you are using. So there are chances that. So if the file is not available, please give me an alternative. So what alternative you are giving? Okay, if the file is not available, please use any file. Please use any file if Java file is not available. So this is the alternative that you are giving. Unless you give this alternative, the code that you have written is not going to get compiled. Compiler will keep asking you, please give the alternative, or please give an handling code, or else I will not compile. Because there are high chances that this file may not be available in the C drive. Because it is just an argumentative, it is just a statement. You cannot run a Java code with just by trusting this statement. A simple statement, you are just giving instructions, go there and take that. But if you are take that object, but if the object is not there, the control might have gone already, but it is looking for the object which is not there. What if object is not there? What the control should do? What what the code should do. It should look for the alternative, right? So this is alternative. This is the handling code, right? So this is what we call it as the checked exceptions. Checked exceptions means you will just make sure, you will ensure that you have handled the code with the exception handling. If there is no handling code mechanism, the compiler will not compile the code successfully. It will ask you to include the handling code. What if the exception is occurring? What I have to do? Have you made sure that the code is handled successfully by the exception? Right? So these are called as checked exceptions. Checked exceptions are checked by the compiler during the compilation, and it does not mean that they are compile time exception. They are just checked. Right? So if you ask me what are the examples that anyone could give for the checked exceptions, I can simply say all the exceptions that is under IO exception. So these are the under all these exceptions under IO. These IO exceptions and all its subclasses. File not found exception, EOF exceptions. These exceptions are called as checked exceptions. Right? So if you're writing a Java code saying that take a file from D drive. So the Java code completed. If you want to compile this, compiler will not execute unless and until you handle this code. How to handle this code? You need to write this code in a try block. Mention this code in a try block and use the catch block to give the alternative. Because there are high chances are very high here because exceptions can occur. Take a file from D drive, but what if I don't find the D drive? What if the code Java is not able to find the D drive? So it will give the alternative. Take any file, not specific to any drive. Right? So these are the things. If you are trying to handle any files in your Java code, you must handle that files in the try catch block. Again, we will discuss about this try catch block in the future topics. No worries. So what I'm trying to say is these are the exceptions that are, we are talking about the checked exceptions. So when someone is asking what is checked exceptions, you can say checked exceptions are checked by the compiler during the compilation. It does not mean that they are the compile time exceptions. Some of the common checked exceptions are IO exceptions and file not found exception and EOF exception. Right? So a simple real-time analogy I've already given. Example, if you are trying to write an exam tomorrow, you will be checked or before leaving your house, your mom or your dad will be asking you definitely about your, they will remind you about your hall ticket and they will also check if you are carrying extra pen, things like that. Things that may cause any unfortunate event. That will be checked by your parent. If it is okay, they will leave you to write the exam, right? Or else they will ensure that you are carrying an additional pen and they are also ensure that you are not forgetting your hall ticket. Right? The same thing applies to the Java also, right? So now the next question is what are unchecked exceptions? So unchecked exceptions are the exceptions that are not checked by the compiler. So if you want me to tell a real-time analogy for these unchecked exceptions, let us say that you are going to, so we cannot say this, touch wood. For example, no one is going to say please carry your element or you may fall prey to the accident, something like that. No one is going to say, because those things are something that is unexpected and chances are very less. Right? No one can anticipate there may be an accident, you may get an accident, please carry element and don't travel on bike, travel by bus, and don't travel by bus also. There are chances birds will also end up in accident. No one is going to say that because the chances are very less, chances are very dim. Right? So when the chances are very dim, even the Java code, if for any piece of code if the chances are very less for an exception to be developed, they are called as unchecked exception. So they always occur at the runtime. Compiler has nothing to do with that. Compiler is not going to check any exceptions that are going to cause in the runtime. Runtime in the sense that exceptions that has less possibility, less chances to occur. Right? So for example, if you talk about the unchecked exceptions, all the exceptions that is falling under runtime exceptions, they are unchecked exceptions. This will not be checked by the compiler. But let me give you a small piece of Java code real time for the better understanding. Here I am trying to use an unchecked exception. See, if I try 10 by 0, so this line is going to create cause and exception because 10 divided by anything divided by 0 is going to be infinity. This infinity code cannot be handled by Java. Definitely this is going to cause an exception. But still I am allowed to run because if I run this, the exception is happening at the runtime. Compiler will not have any issues. Compiler is not going to check whether this code is causing exception or not. Right? Compiler will not check. Compiler, the program will be compiled successfully no matter what. Right? So let me take this piece of code and try to use Java. So this is a notepad. I am saving this file as class A. File, save as. A.java. So let me compile this. Java C space A dot. Even though I have placed a code that is potential enough to cause an exception, compiler is no problem. Compilation is getting successful. You see here. Compilation is getting successful. If I run this, during the runtime I am getting this exception. This is not the compile time exception. After running this code I am getting arithmetic exception. So the exception that is occurring during the runtime, they are called as unchecked exception because it is not checked by the compiler. Right? I can simply say if anyone is asking me what are checked exception, what are unchecked exception, checked exceptions are the straight answer. We have checked exceptions are checked by the compiler during the compilation time, and it does not mean that they are compile time exception. They are checked in the compilation time. Unchecked exception, they are not checked in the compilation time. They actually happen directly in the runtime. So some common examples of runtime exceptions are what? All the exceptions, arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, index of bound. These things are least expected. You don't see this very often, and chances of occurring these exceptions are very dim. That's why they are under unchecked exception. If you ask me about checked exceptions, there are high chances that checked exceptions can occur very often. Example, file handling. If you want to handle a specific file and if you're trying to mention the file name, and during the execution the file may not be available during the run, during the what if the file is not available, and how the code is going to get handled, how the code is going to get executed successfully when the file is not available. In those cases we use what, those situations that are causing exceptions very oftenly, they are called as checked exceptions. The most uncommon exceptions are called as unchecked exceptions, right? So, this is all about the exception hierarchy. And tomorrow again we have to discuss one by one. What is runtime exception? What is arithmetic? Each and after discussing each and every topics, by doing a deep dive, the concept of exception handling will be over in Java. But and again I'm saying checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions are one of the important questions. Even I have faced this question many times. So better you must understand this to proceed further. Right? You can unmute yourself and